First of all, thanks a million everybody for coming. The Swinford GAA Strategic Club Plan 2025 to 2028. I suppose like anything in life, if you don't have a plan, it's just going to be mayhem. So we've decided as a club to sit down and come up with a plan. On the 2nd of March, we had 45 people in this room that attended a workshop to look at what we do and how we do it over 5 different groups and 5 different areas of the club: finance, administration, training, etc. So out of that came the club strategy for the next 3 years. An interesting thing, I suppose, while we're a town in East Mayo, there's 21 people in our executive. 1/3 of that executive are people who aren't born in Swinford, who have married into Swinford, who have come into Swinford. So that's what the GAA does. It brings people together who wouldn't normally meet. There's people on the executive I would have no reason to meet bar involved in GAA. So that's what GAA brings. This evening, we're not going to keep you too long with formalities. We have a running order for tonight. So we're starting with our club chairman, Alan Heaney, who's going to give us the purpose of the club, the plan and the vision. Followed in by Martin Carney, who's going to give a talk on his 50 years since you came to Swinford, Martin, 1975. I've got it's all here, Martin. He taught me for 5 years, so this is payback. It's going to be long and slow. Followed by Martin, we're going to have Vincent Neary. After Vincent, we're going to have Seamus Toohey, Chairman of the Mayo County Board. And then we'll have our Ministers, Derek Leary, Alan Dillon, Senator Mark Duffy. So we'll get down to... This is not going to be too long. We're going to move along with this as quick as we can. So first and foremost, I'd like to introduce our chairman. Now, if he's not in the Sahara Desert running, or up a mountain, or orienteering, or on a bicycle, he's running Swinford GAA Club. He's probably one of the busiest guys I ever knew in any walk of life. And they always say, if you want to get a job done, give it to a busy guy. Well, this is a busy guy. Put your hands together for your chairman, Alan Heaney.
Thanks, Paddy, and I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening. Ministers, councillors, teachers, elected representatives, men from the Mayo GAA, parents, players, members of the executive, and support for GAA. So thank you all. It's a busy evening for everyone. There's so much on. But we kicked off there in February. We're trying to put a bit of purpose and vision in the club, a bit of a roadmap, a bit of a route, where we're at, where we're going to. To be fair, when Eamon Harkin came into the club 2 years ago, he always asked, can we have a strategic plan? We need to know where we're at, where we're going, who's in, who's out, and what the journey look like. So to be fair, 2 years later, it happened, so it did. It's probably the best thing we've ever done. And what we did is Pat Lockton, to be fair, who was the facilitator, offered his time, and we had a workshop, a framework workshop, where we met the executive committee and we outlined what a plan would look like, what it would entail, what are the actions and outcomes. And out of that then we formalised a steering group, which is made up of parents, which is made up of a few executive committee members and other people that wanted to get involved in the club. We got a lot of help from Mary Prenty at the time, thanks Mary, because it was the first time we did it in the club. And so by the end of March we came up with a plan, a draft, followed by a survey. And all of that was really to get a feeling from the community, what did we do well in Swinford GAA, what could we improve on, what could we do better. We've all aspirations to be, and the tagline is, senior by 2034 or before. Now, that's not just about winning senior titles or senior medals, but what we want to do is set the club up that we operate in a senior way. There's 5 pillars to our plan: finance and fundraising, facilities and development, communications and PR, coaching and games, and club management and administration. And what we wanted to do was to be senior in the way we would run our club. Senior in communication, senior in our values, behaviours, standards and attitudes. Seniors in the way we conduct ourselves on and off the pitch. So that's a key piece, because it's not all about winning. While it's important to be competitive, we're looking for participation, inclusion and enjoyment. So I want to thank the committee, the executive committee. I want to thank the steering committee. I want to thank all the coaches and all the people that were involved. And I want to thank particularly Pádraig Owens, who pulled it all together. You know, Pádraig is a very unassuming guy, real gentleman. You know, he got people to do a lot of stuff over a short period of time, and he did it in a very nice, friendly way. Like, he didn't lose the cool or the rag with anyone along the journey. So Pádraig, thank you very much, because without you, we definitely wouldn't be here tonight, and this would not have happened. In terms of our principles, like, for me, the club, you know, the organisation of GAA is just more about football. You know, it's about, you know, young kids being exposed to good coaching, good leadership, people that show good values and behaviour, lead by example, you know, good attitude. Because no matter where they go in the world and whatever club they ever join, they'll be in good company, good place. So it's just more about football, so it is. And as our president, Gerald Byrne, said on the letter to the club, GAA operates more outside the white lines of the pitch than inside it. So it does. You know, and they would have said, for many as you can, for as long as you can. I think, Eamon, your point was building on the future and honouring our past is probably what we want to do. But we've got to start somewhere. We've got to have a plan. And the plan starts today. We're only 1% of the way. You know, delivering this plan is not a certainty. There's no success to delivering this plan unless we get buy-in. And we get the people in the community, we get the coaches, we get the parents, we get the players buying in. It will take drive, take a lot of ambition, and it'll take energy. There will be lots of upsets along the way. It'll be like snakes and ladders. You know, you have progress, and maybe you get a failure. But like, we've got to keep driving, so we do. We've got to lead the way, and we've got to be ready for the upsets that come along the way, so we do. So, as I said, it's not a straight line. There'll be no certainty. But like, if enough people believe in it, and enough people buy into it, we can make it become a reality. And it would be nice sometime to get back to where we belong. You know, get back to becoming a senior team and competing at the highest level. So, I will leave it at that. I want to thank the lads, Martin and Minister Alan Dillon, Derek Leary, Mark Duffy, Vincent Neary, Seamus Toohey for coming along. Appreciate your time and effort. Paddy for emceeing, thank you very, very much. And Michael May, who's always continued to provide photos and be at every game and really support the club. So, and sorry, Councillor Adrian Forkin, thank you very much. And before I finish, I want to thank Councillor Adrian Forkin, Councillor Jerry Murray, for getting us the grant in the general municipal allocation. We're lucky enough to get 4,500 from the local councillors, so we appreciate that. Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Okay, our next speaker, I suppose he's got a connection going back a long way with Swinford. Has known most of the footballers over the 50 years that came out of Swinford, and would have taught them and would have, I suppose, shaped them and developed them. Originally from Donegal with Mayo connections, he's 2 Ulster titles, 4 Connacht titles. He's managed Mayo minors, Mayo 21s to 3 All-Ireland finals, 43 matches, 5 goals and 70 points. But probably his biggest achievement was keeping me and Alan Heaney quiet in the seat beside each other for 5 years. It wasn't easy. And I suppose the other thing, if any of you that didn't go to Castlebar last week that happened to listen to Midwest, that's what Martin Kearney gives you. It's just everything, heart and soul, 100%. So without further ado, he's, as well as Gaelic football, he's an accomplished handballer, hurler, soccer, fishing, loves cricket and supports Man United. So that's it, Wikipedia. Martin, what can you do it? Put up your hands together please for Martin Kearney.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight is the only night that I was able to give that fella a kick in the arse. I taught him here for many years, and as he said, keeping him under lock and key, keeping him in order, it took some time. The older brother was easier to handle, Paddy. But on a serious note, just going back, I would just compliment the club on having a vision, compliment the club on having a work ethic, compliment the club on looking into the future and bringing up a strategic document that will give them a way forward and allow them maybe to fulfill their potential both in the short term and in the long term. Like the document itself, I think only covers, the next 3 years, as far as I know. But the Swinford I knew and the Swinford maybe that's here at the moment are two completely different worlds. I came here in 1975, 50 years ago I got work here. It was a Father Leonard who actually employed me. And he asked me, what would I teach? I said, maths. He said, would you teach religion? And I said, okay, I have a brother, a priest, or he's gone on to train for a priest. Maybe that qualifies me. But if there's any of you boys here in town that are not practicing your religion, you can bring them back to the religion classes maybe I gave you, because there was sweet Fanny Adams taught as regards religion in those. And that's maybe where the bluffology in my life started. But going back to the football side of it, I remember I got involved with young lads here. And you know, it's very much a two-way street. I had a great passion for football. But in that school and in that pitch behind it, I got a group of boys over the years. Mike Campbell came along afterwards, TJ Gilgallen came along afterwards, and we always found willing recipients. We always found willing attendees. We always found guys who wanted to be good at sport, guys who wanted to be, shall we say, contribute to their community. And there were never, ever any shortage here. Within the town itself then, you know, you had a teacher in the national school, you had Porrick Gavin, you had in the community Peter Geraghty. Peter then and Peter now, still the same passionate Peter, giving it welling straight from the heart and contributing so much to this area. And within your document, Paddy, as you said, and Alan, as you said, Jared Burns' point is very, very true. It's not what goes on necessarily inside the white lines that counts. It's what you bring to your community, it's what you kind of establish as a focus for your community. That's what your GAA club is about. And to get people involved on a voluntary basis, to get people involved, to get young people playing, and most importantly, to keep them involved in the game. To me, that is the key thing in any club at the moment, is keeping people playing, keeping people involved, keeping people contributing to the club, and keeping that club as the centre point, that place that everybody wants to gravitate towards in a community. The other side of I remember, you know, from a purely footballing point of view, I had a great privilege here to teach the likes of Paul Cunny. And I'm only now singling out a few names because I remember Paul was on an All-Ireland, on a minor team that I managed in 1991, an under-21 team that I managed in 94 that got to an All-Ireland final. And there was Michael Smith. Now there's one big boy that I'd love to see involved. Michael Smith equally kind of was part of that group. And then, you know, you had other people. You had Aidan Campbell, fantastic player. And again, I'm emphasising, I may be talking about the lads who kind of played inter-county, but it's extraordinary the contribution, more in recent times, that the likes of David Heaney gave to the club. Yes, it's a town that gave you Porrick Carney, Bill Durkin, but Porrick Carney in particular, known as the Flying Doctor, I think he was dubbed that by Mayo O'Hare maybe in 1954 when Mayo reached the National League final. Won 2 All-Irelands with Mayo. Practiced maybe in the United States, spent most of his time in the United States, but would have learnt in his formative years his love of sport here. And to see David Heaney continuing on that tradition, played every level for Mayo, played Railway Cup, played international rules. And these are the things that the young people here in town should aspire to, emulating what people who have gone before you have actually achieved. And that's the beauty about this brochure, for example. It gives you a fantastic, shall we say, pocketbook history of the club, of where the club has come from, of the people who have contributed to it. And, you know, yes, you talk about your 3 intermediate titles that you won in the 80s and 2 in the 90s. and the number of quality minor teams you have. But becoming the centre point of what I would call the sporting life in this town. Getting people wanting to be part of the organisation that you're proud to actually represent. Getting people to kind of want to play under that black and red flag. That proud colours that you wear, you know, repeatedly, and have repeatedly over the years kind of flown. That's what you want young people playing. I see Tony Fahy coming in there. I know John Moran, for example, when I was a selector, and when I was involved in management, John Moran from the town here, he was my right-hand man. Again, put huge work into the club. So, Swinford people have contributed hugely to the development and to the, what I would call it, the health of GAA affairs in County Mayo. This document, this strategic plan that you have come up with, God's help, will actually kind of, shall we say, create an interest, regenerate an interest with an awful lot of people. Give them a desire to get involved again in the club and make this club a bastion of quality, a bastion of high standards, and basically bring forward the qualities in the area so as you become the standard bearer in East Mayo. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Martin, for that. I'll next call on Vincent Neary to say a couple of words. Thanks, Vincent.
Chairperson here in the club, elected representatives and fellow guests. It's a great privilege for me, and firstly I'd like to thank the club for inviting me here tonight. It's a great privilege to be here on such a special night for the club. The officers, to be fair to them, have not alone talked about, but they've actually put a document together that will be their template for the next 3 years. And in building that foundation for the first 3 years, they have really laid the foundation for many, many years to follow after that. So I'd have to congratulate the officers, the steering group for putting it together, and it's a lovely production, but my God, a lot of work has gone into this before this was handed out here tonight. And they have to be congratulated for it. It's all right at executive meetings and at club meetings talking about what we'll do, this and that and the other. But until you have it down on paper, now you have the template to follow through. And as Martin has said, for generations to come, this will be the Bible of Swinford GAA. And Martin has touched on all the contributions of different players from the club here that have represented Mayo and Connacht and further afield. And I just had a quick glance here, and I see an intermediate winning photograph. And it's amazing all from that photograph that are here in the room again tonight. So they have walked the walk, and now they're ready to talk the talk. So it's marvellous to see so many past players getting really stuck into the club to drive it on and to drive it forward. And Swinford will not be found wanting. They have a great tradition going way back. I just see in the glimpse there from the 1800s. But now they're really refocusing, resetting, and have prepared, as I say, a 3-year plan, but a plan that will lay a foundation for many, many years to come. I congratulate the club on putting this document together. And as I say, it doesn't come easy. There's a lot of work, and someone said that things are very calm around the table. I'd say there was a nod, bit of well, that's not total harmony, but it needs that. It needs that to get the document to come to fruition. And now the fun starts here to deliver this. But at least you have something. You know, small steps. Your 5 main areas. It won't be all done in the first 6 months, it won't be all done in the first year. But through the lifespan of the document, it will be achieved. I wish you the very best of luck in achieving this, and I wish Swinford the very best of luck in the years to come. No doubt it's in great safe hands, great officers, and plenty of other club members that are contributing. I just see Billy down there, you know, massively to the GAA, not alone here in the club, but throughout the county and the province. So, well done, keep up the good work, and I wish you well from here on in. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Vincent, Chairman of the Connaught Council. I now call on Seamus Toohey, Chairman of the Mayo County Board, to say a few words. Thanks, Seamus. Officers of the Swinford Club, first of all, thank you for the invitation here this evening. Public representatives, it's great to see so many public representatives here this evening also in support of GAA clubs throughout the county. And look, there's always a time when we have to call on them to support us in trying to develop facilities within the county. First of all, look, this is a huge evening for the Swinford Club. Congratulations on what you have achieved. I suppose going back a number of years, I suppose one thing that struck me when I came in here this evening was the amount of new blood that was within the room from the Swinford Club. I'm well used to working with the likes of Pete Garrity, Michael Daly, Michael Smith, Billy there over the years, and have a long association with them, and there's no doubt they have been a huge support to me along my journey. But it's great to see the new blood, and Alan and the team of people he has put around him for the club. And that alone in itself speaks volume where the club, I think, is going. So basically, well done, Alan, I compliment you on that. And I also compliment you on the one thing you mentioned there around standards in your speech, you know, and that's fantastic to see. Another thing is about volunteers. Volunteers is a challenge for all organisations. And again, the one thing I picked out when I glanced through the document about how you want to go about recruiting more volunteers, setting up a register for more volunteers, and first of all, and also to acknowledge what volunteers can do. We wouldn't survive within clubs, whereas people know the GAA is a community organisation dependent on its volunteers, and that's what we have built our strength over the years, and we're very fortunate that we have a huge baseline of volunteers. But it's great to see within that document that you have acknowledged the importance of volunteers and how you're going to acknowledge them over the next couple of years. So look, it's an important milestone for the club, and it's a huge achievement. A lot of work to do over the next 3 years. It won't be, as Vincent already said, be achieved overnight, but you know, it gives your club a vision where the club is going, or the deficits the club needs to work on over the next couple of years. You have a lot of strengths behind you, so basically you have a lot to work on. So basically, as someone already said, there's no reason to fear that you cannot be a senior club in the next couple of years. You know, you went through a few tough years, but I can see, you know, particularly with underage teams, you have a lot of underage players within the club at this stage, and that speaks volumes of where you're going. So overall, I think you have a lot to look forward to. This is a big night for you, but as Vincent already said, the work starts now. It won't be achieved overnight, it'll come in piecemeal, but you have a strong vision going forward. So well done, congratulations to everyone involved, and look at anything we can do as a county board to help you along the way, we will do so. I'd also like to compliment Mary, our executive member here, chairperson of the East Board, and Pat Nocton from our committee, and Michael Murphy, who has taken over that position for their support to you as a committee, because this is hugely important. We all should have a plan, we all should have a vision where we're going, and it's great to see the progression and the leadership you as a club within Swinford is showing. So the best of luck and well done. Thank you. Thanks for that, Seamus. Next up, this man has an appointment, and I get him up here. Derek Cleary, Minister for Rural Community Development and Gaeltacht. Derek.
Thank you, both Chairman Alan and the executive, to Alan, Mark, to Patsy, Adrian, to Michael, former colleague, to the County Board officials, to Seamus and all the officials, to Mary, to President Vincent. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to be with you this evening. I want to endorse all of the remarks said already about the plan. Senior by 2034 or more, nothing putting a deadline on it, and actually concentrate minds. And really the ultimate winners of this will be the three here in front of us and the underage cohort that are playing in the club, because they will feel that ambition, they will share that ambition, and ultimately they will drive that ambition on. And that's what a plan is all about. I know we get requests for funding all over the time and all the time that are pie in the sky stuff from people who just think we can write a submission on the back of an envelope. That's not going to happen here. And I see within the framework of the plan, it's real, it's ambitious, but it's got deliverables, and it's got responsibility within it that at every AGM somebody's going to have to answer for what is being achieved within the plan. And I think what else being said, it's built on a really fine tradition. And within the document there are many references to that tradition, and as Duke Theron says in his letter, building our future but bearing on the past. And tonight, and I noticed Robbie and John are particularly mentioned, we think of the McCallion family, particularly at this time, and all that have gone before in this club to pave the way for this ambition of the future. Tá siad freisin go cuasa gaeilge ag críoch flean. Tá Cumann Lucas Gael, Harvey Hall with the cuasa gaeilge. The GAA and the Irish Challenge are intertwined, and in a week where we might be a bit down in the dumps in Mayo, don't forget we do have an All-Ireland champion in the county, in Liam McNamara from Achill, our score champion, our score All-Ireland champion. Agus tá sé Harvey Hall gur mai an Cumann seo is out of wing part of the course of Grega, August Cultura, Ectoleride Freshen. I'm currently finalising work on writing the new policy document for Ireland's rural future, our rural future for 26 to 30. And I've asked my officials to engage with the GAA, with the Youth Theron, and with the Demographics Committee in particular of Central Council to look at the demographics, but also to look at the experiences and the input, because our rural future is very much intertwined with a healthy GAA, and they depend on each other, they feed off each other. And over the coming weeks we will be engaging not just Seamus with Croke Park, but with county boards around the country whose experience is actually incredibly difficult. There's some really, really good developments, there's some really good population growth, and then another, even within counties, there is continuous population decline, and we try to put a framework in place to drive that on, to change that, but we won't do that without the assistance and the support of the GAA. So, congrats on actually having the courage to put this down, because a lot of people will talk about it in a bar, or a lot of people will talk about it on the sideline, normally people who've never played, never trained, never fundraised in their life, but they will be the experts on the sideline. A committee has actually had the courage, said something else except there's kids here, to put this on paper. And I know in doing so you're giving ammunition to those sideline commentators to have a go at the plan, but well done on doing it, well done on driving it on, and I think you'll hopefully achieve that ambition long before 34, so that we might have a few senior medal winners amongst this group that are here. Congrats against the Premier League.
Thank you, Dara. All I heard there was get the application right, we get the funding. That was it. Next up, I'll call on Alan Dillon, Minister of State for Enterprise, Tourism and Employment, former Mayo footballer, who wouldn't sign for me over 40s this year. Come on, Alan.
Thanks very much, Paddy. Hopefully next year we'll get the call up. But firstly, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests, our elected representatives and Oireachtas colleagues, it's great to be here. It's an absolute pleasure. I just want to thank Paddy and Alan and the executive within Swinford GAA for the kind invitation. And indeed, just looking back, on some of the commentary within your strategic plan, and one part of it was around your adult and underage peak. I think was from 1997 to 1999, and I do remember fondly or vividly the half back line of Rob McCallion, David Heaney, and Paul Brennan, and unfortunately they didn't select me for the 1999 intermediate final. My brother got in ahead of me, but looking back at the scoreline, 110 to 4 points, I think it was a fair enough reflection on where Swinford were going at that time. And indeed, I remember playing underage level at minor and under 16, and there was a conveyor belt of real strong athletic men coming through the underage system, and indeed, I had the fortunate pleasure of playing with the likes of David Heaney, Dermot Welch at minor level, Aidan Campbell, and Bob McCallion himself at under 21 level. All tough men, really committed, huge discipline. So the pedigree is there, and I'm sure, as Dara said earlier, and Martin, Swinford have produced some of the highest quality players this country has seen, and indeed will do it again. And I see down there Billy McNicholas, and I have to thank Billy, for his input in my own career, indeed at under 16 level, at Ted Webb level, and at coaching level, and the contribution he's made, not just for many Mayo footballers that have seen minor level and senior football, but I think having his resources and his input here is very, very important. I suppose we're here today because, I suppose not just to launch a plan, but also I think we all know the power of club, we know the power of community, the power of place, and I think that is central to what is being launched today. And indeed, I think Swinford themselves are doing a lot well, but this is a significant gear change in terms of the ambition, in terms of where you want to go and how you get there. And indeed, it's based on data, it's based on research, it's based on a survey. So this is not just abstract, this is what the actual community wants. And I think that's very, very important. For me, I think many of you would agree, the GAA is not just what happens on the pitch. I think many facets of the GAA is also what happens off it. And indeed, the GAA is at its best in terms of when people are at their lowest, and we've seen that in many, many occasions, even in here in Swinford, when people hit rock bottom in tragic circumstances. And indeed, it's about building that structure. So, I just want to acknowledge all the work that's gone into developing this. It is a pathway for people, it's a pathway for young people, for coaches, for volunteers, and for many more, and I think that's really important. And again, it's not just about the GAA, it's about Swinford as a whole. It's about its primary schools, it's about its teachers, and I think everyone working collectively. Parents, teachers, the volunteers, the coaches, looking at where we can go and what you can do. And I think building that into a structure in terms of having first-class facilities, having the coaches, and ensuring that you build that culture, and anything is possible. So I just want to wish you the very best of luck. Amazing things can happen on the basis of this. This can work and be a catalyst for future success. And indeed, I'm sure many of the public representatives will support you in any projects or initiatives that you have into the future. So the very, very best of luck. We look forward to Swinford flying the flag high, not just in East Mayo, but for the county as a whole, and we look forward to supporting that in any way possible.
Thanks, Alan. That brings us to our last speaker for the night, Senator Mark Duffy.
Thank you, Paddy. Good evening, everyone, distinguished guests, public representatives, and the whole Swinford community and Mel. First of all, I just want to say thank you for having us here this evening. This is a great step change and planting the flag for a really positive and optimistic future for Swinford GAA. And I'd just like to thank the members of the club. In my formative years playing underage, people like Billy McNicholas were so heavily involved in encouraging and maintaining young people who were engaged and involved in GAA right across the county. And that's the power of GAA. It's the mettle and the community that comes from it. Obviously this plan is an ambitious plan for reaching senior football, but the foundation and strength of any club and any community is its people and the contribution that it makes, young and old. And I know Swinford, like so many other communities and so many other GAA clubs, you know, we lose young people through emigration and migration, but having a strong and vibrant community that welcomes people and engages people, people who are married into the community or people who have fond memories of the place but want to come back, this has the real power to do it. But to have buy-in and to have consultation, that's the strength of this document, the foundation that is laid to realise this plan is by having that strong foundation. So it's great to be here tonight with all of the speakers, and I'd just like to acknowledge the county councillors and former Caherlick Michael Smith, Councillor Adrian Forkin and Councillor Patsy O'Brien. It's really important to engage on an infrastructure level with councillors on the ground who can help lay the foundation and working with the Oireachtas colleagues Dara and Alan to make sure that we are there to support you, not just this evening, but over the next number of years as you make this ambitious approach to improve not only the club but the community generally, because that's what it's all about. Like Dara mentioned, it's about the future, the young people, so that we have strong and vibrant clubs right across the county. Improves physical health, improves mental health, it improves cohesion, and it brings people together when sometimes we're often can be divided, whether that's things online. So it's important that we have strength by pulling people together. So I'm with you every step of the way. Look forward to supporting you realise this plan. There'll be good days and bad, and I just look forward to being there. So thank you for having me this evening, and look forward to supporting you into the future. Thank you very much.
Okay, that concludes this evening. That's, I suppose, the easy part now. The hard work starts over the next 3 years. Again, to all the people that came to speak, thank you so much for doing it. It just puts the bow on the ribbon and just puts it in a nice, neat box. It's now launched. It's now for all of us. All the people here in the room are largely and hugely involved in this project. It's about getting it out to the community from now on and making it work. Talk is cheap, so let's get the actions going. Anybody that wants to get a copy of the proposal of the programme, it's at the back of the hall, one per family on the way home. Again, on behalf of Swinford GAA Club, thank you kindly. And Eamon Horkin has, yes, we have a small sign now. We didn't have one for everyone in the audience, it's not the Late Late Show. But we have a presentation for Martin Carney for coming over this evening. So, on behalf of Swinford GAA Club, Martin, you might come up. We have a Swinford GAA hoodie. He tells me he walks every morning at 7 o'clock, come winter and summer, so if you see a fellow in a Swinford top walking around Loch Lana, it's him. Alan, come in for a photo there. So let's round of applause for Martin Carney, everybody. 50 years involved with Swinford.